What's going on, guys, and welcome back to another video. So this is actually a critical stimulus update. Make sure you watch this entire video, and I'm sorry if this video does drag on, takes a little bit longer than my normal videos, but there's a lot of stuff we have to cover in this video. Got some breaking news, and I want to fill you in on a game that Senator Schumer is currently playing with the $3.5 trillion stimulus package. Again, there's a lot of stuff currently happening. If you could, do me a favor, go ahead, hit that like button. It really does help out the channel. It also will spread this video in front of other people as well, because again, this is a very critical stimulus package update. Let's get into it. First, progressive Democrats are currently saying that they plan on introducing new legislation sometime this week that will extend the eviction moratorium. It's going to be called the Keeping Renters Safe Act of 2021. We do not know exactly when this moratorium would take place, but we do know it would only last for 60 days. According to reports, the guess is once the bill passes, then it would be the 60 days. It's not going to be retroactive because you can't really do retroactive, and you can't do a retroactive eviction moratorium because if people were already evicted from their homes, you can't actually invite them back and say, hey, sorry, we now have a retroactive moratorium. You can come back into that apartment. It's not going to work that way. So progressives do plan to go about this a different route, though. They don't plan on going through the CDC like they did the last time because, according to many experts, that was unlawful. So they want to try to do something different. As for the 60 days, my guess is the 60 days is just to buy time. That's it. Now, regarding the continuing resolution that came out today, this is what's in it, okay? And the continuing resolution, all that we're trying to do with the continuing resolution, or a CR, is try to buy time so that Congress can pretty much put together a government funding bill for all of the fiscal year 2022. And this is exactly what we did last year. I remember talking about last year as well. Right now, what's happening is Democrats are just going to push forward with a CR, or continuing resolution, and it's going to fund the government through December 3rd. That's it. Just from October 1st through December 3rd, so about 2 months. Now, it's also going to include $28.6 billion for emergency disaster relief. This is going to help out with hurricanes and tropical storms, fires, things like that, flooding. There's going to be $6.3 billion to support Afghan refugees, and they want to include the suspension of the debt ceiling through December 2022. I don't think this is going to get much bipartisan support simply because of the last thing, suspending the debt ceiling through December of 2022. If it was suspending the debt ceiling until December 2021, possibly, or having a debt ceiling limit, then I could see this happening. But having pretty much an open door to provide and pass anything, I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think Republicans are going to go for it. But as far as funding the government through December 3rd, I think Republicans would vote for that. There'd be more than 10. As far as the $28.6 billion for emergency disaster relief, I already can tell you, some are going to vote yes because their state has been impacted because of hurricanes or because of fires or whatever. So, we could see that. We could see the GOP vote in favor of that. And the $6.3 billion to support Afghan refugees, that would have support as well. But here's something else. Chuck Schumer plans on keeping the immigration reform provision in the $3.5 trillion infrastructure bill. That is not good news. And the reason why I say this is not good news is because the Senate parliamentarian has already stated that that does not pass with the Byrd rule. It doesn't actually abide by the Byrd rule. So because of that, it has to be pulled out before it can even pass through the Senate. Here's the problem. The House is going to vote on this bill first. If the House votes on this bill, which they will, if it passes with a provision for immigration reform, the problem is it's going to go to the Senate. The Senate's going to debate this, the entire bill. They're going to have to pull out, especially the immigration reform, and it will have to go back to the House, which then it has the potential for, it could potentially be voted against, and it doesn't pass the House the second time. So again, reports indicate, and this is what's so frustrating, reports indicate the reason why Senator Schumer would do this, the first reason why is there could be a move by Democrats to try and overrule the Senate parliamentarian, which I don't think that's going to happen, or they want to adjust the rules surrounding the filibuster. That's the other option. The third option is Senator Schumer is just trying to buy time because he knows that whatever the bill is, it will not get the votes in the Senate. And so he's just trying to buy time. And if they can't get the votes for whatever reason, he could always say, well, we're still trying to figure out about the immigration reform bill. And so it's just another game from the Senate. Not great news, but that's what we're hearing this morning. One of the major holdups, though, and this is something that I want to bring to your attention because right now, Democrats don't have the votes for the $3.5 trillion infrastructure bill or stimulus package. They don't have the votes. Nancy Pelosi has hinted that the House will not make the deadline for September 27th. That's not going to happen, but she promised moderates. She promised 9 moderates in the House that yes, they would. Even Representative Josh Gottheimer promised him that they would vote on this bill before September 27th. However, the $1.2 trillion bill is not going to get voted on if there's not a $3.5 trillion bill first. Right now, we know House Democrats want to first pass the $3.5 trillion stimulus package before they vote on the $1.2 trillion bill, or tie the two together. But President Biden says we will not tie those two bills together. It's not going to happen. So if he's going to stick to his word, it's going to mean Nancy Pelosi cannot stick to hers. That's a problem. We also know Democrats can't agree on how much to ultimately spend going forward. This is a big issue. Right now, there's too many disagreements right around the size and what is actually in the bill that some are saying that there's no way we can see the passing of this $3.5 trillion stimulus package within the next 6 days. It's not going to happen. And according to Senator Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema, they both say $1.5 trillion is their top line number. So they've already said $1.5 trillion is the highest I'll go, and that's for a senator. Well, the Senate can't lose any votes. They have to get all 50. So if you got 50 votes is the minimum you can get, but yet you only have 48 right now, we're seeing major problems just going into the debate, into the negotiations. It's only going to get more frustrating as we get a little bit closer. But when Democratic Caucus Committee Chairman Hakeem Jeffries was asked if this bill will pass, this is what he had to say, and I quote, "Failure is not an option. The votes will be there for both the bipartisan infrastructure agreement and the Build Back Better plan. But honestly, the votes are not there. They may be in the future, but as of right now, they're not there." But one of the biggest reasons why nobody can agree on the bill is because they don't know what this will do for their voting numbers. Yeah, their voting numbers. They want to see what the polls are going to say. Some Democrats say that $3.5 trillion bill will bring them more voters who are upset with Republicans for not passing more stimulus to the American people. Okay, great. Well, they're going to vote for Democrats because Democrats are passing stimulus, right? Well, not so fast. Some Democrats worry that passing a bill that increases taxes is actually something that is going to, especially on businesses and the rich, is going to hurt them because these people, these businesses are going to not be able to provide as much money to their campaign, or maybe will not even provide any money to it. Well, you need to run a successful campaign and you have to have money to do that. That's a problem. Other Democrats say that passing this bill could cause more harm from people that are not happy about the price of the infrastructure package and what is included in it. They're just not happy. Reports indicate that about 69% or 68% of Americans want to see a fourth stimulus check included. But as of right now, the most popular piece of legislation that we have seen over the past 1 year is not even in this bill. It's not even being included. That's a problem, especially if Democrats are coming forward and saying, we need to pass popular legislation, we need to provide more stimulus, but yet there's not as much stimulus as before. That's a huge issue. Earlier today, multiple big-time investors say that Americans are in need of an additional stimulus check. They say that President Biden promised jobs and higher-paying jobs at that, but nothing has happened, and the $1.2 trillion bill has stalled and is not looking like it's going to pass. That's a big problem. It is because of this that they are saying that another stimulus check is needed so that millions of Americans can afford the basics in life. Medications, food, shelter, clothing, just the basics. They also say, and one investor says, that giving another stimulus check to 25 to 50 million Americans would exclude the rich. 25 to 50 million lower income and middle income earners would exclude the rich. So if Democrats are wanting to stick it to the rich, Give the American people an additional stimulus check, but give them a check to only those that desperately need it. They say that this would be beneficial for Democrats who are trying to be reelected, which would be great, but this would also be beneficial to those that are truly in need. So we need an additional stimulus check. But here's the big news. Here's the big news from today. According to a recent study by Mark Zandi, who's a chief economist over at Moody's, he says, and the study shows that if the U.S. were to default on their debts, okay, then it would cost about 6 million jobs. It would wipe out about $15 trillion in wealth. It would also send unemployment rates surging to pass at 9%, which is up from its current. Mark Zandi even went on to say, and I quote, "This economic scenario is cataclysmic. The downturn would be comparable to that suffered during the financial crisis of 2008. And one report right after that said, this downturn, the impact that we have, it would be worse than 2008. So it's not looking good. And Moody said that the date that the U.S. is expected to run out of money is currently estimated to be October 20th. So in less than 1 month. So in 1 month, we could see, now I don't think it's going to happen just on day one, but federal employees would pretty much be let go. Okay? Social Security would take a hit. Nutrition, SNAP benefits, school lunches, school funding would take a hit, right? Many government programs would be completely gone. They couldn't even be funded. That's a huge issue. So, if you are currently making trades in the stock market, here's my advice to you. Be careful. I predict over the next few days, we're going to see even more red days. We're going to see many people losing money. There's going to be a lot of people that are going to say, buy the dip. You're going to hear that a lot. Buy the dip. I've said it before, and I usually do it. But in times like this, I am not buying the dip. I honestly don't think this is just a dip. I think we're going to drop. Okay, we're going to see that dead cat, it's called the dead cat bounce, where it comes down, it pops up a little bit like it did today, and we see it drop again. I expect we're going to see that. Many people do as well. You can go and look and see what others are expecting, but what I can tell you right now is just be careful. If you want to buy the dip, make sure you have enough money to trickle in slowly, because my expectation is, even though we could see the market shoot up, or actually not shoot up, that's a horrible wording, even though we could see it, bounce up a little bit, my expectation is we're going to see it drop even further. I don't know how far. Just be careful if you are investing. Now, if you are expecting a stimulus check, don't. Do not expect a stimulus check at this point. If you are expecting and waiting every single month on the 15th for your child tax credit payments, I can tell you right now, don't expect the money to be consistently coming out on the 15th. If we see the government default on their debts, if we see the government shut down, these payments would see delays. I don't know how long, but we would see delays. Experts anticipate that that would be one of the very first things that we see a delay in. But again, this is also helping keep children out of poverty, so I don't know how they would prioritize which programs see funding first. But again, it's a major problem. In news, we are now averaging more than 1,900 deaths per day here in the U.S. This is the highest it has been since March, so that's not great. Experts are saying that the deaths are overwhelmingly all unvaccinated. And many Americans worry that we will never get out. But experts also say that the influenza scare of 1918 lasted over 2 years. So we're still under that, and hopefully we will be to the end of this very soon. But what I can tell you is, even though it's just one part of this entire package, one part of this entire situation that we're currently in, okay, we have other things that we have to worry about. Over the past year, there has been a lot of stimulus, not just in the U.S., but a lot of stimulus throughout the entire world that was introduced, new money introduced into the economy. It's causing inflation. Economic inflation, just mass inflation around the world. The problem is many countries still have to provide additional stimulus just to get them through, or us through. The problem is, if this doesn't stop or doesn't have an end date at some point, this could turn into a real problem. So right now, that's what we know. As always, as I know more, I promise I'll come back on and share any new information and news with you. What I can tell you though is just be careful, be cautious. Don't go make some large purchases right now. You may need that money. Okay? If you're gonna buy something or invest into something that can easily be liquidated. Having cash on the sideline in a time like this is going to be very beneficial, but at the same time, don't have too much cash on the sideline, because if we see massive amounts or runaway inflation, your cash is actually worse. Thanks for watching.